As the months went on, the Sentinel and Amara grew closer again. Amara needed it too. They even began to share a bed as Amara's recurring nightmares became more common and intense. Hopes that the children's absence had helped were quickly dashed as Ayla didn't stop digging herself deeper into her pit of depression. No amount of traveling through time seemed to cheer Amara up. The Sentinel tried his best to keep her happy, and only sometimes did it work. On a cold January night, a gust woke the Sentinel. He grabbed for a blanket, only to grip at pillows and sheets. He sat up, turning to see that Amara was out of bed. The door of the room was left ajar, and a light shone in the hallway. The Sentinel stood up, slipped on a pair of jeans, and picked up his coat from the ground. He made his way down the hall and onto the hillside balcony. Amara sat on a patio chair, wrapped up in a blanket with her legs pressed up against her chest. The Sentinel put the coat over her shoulders and sat down in the chair next to her. "Again, huh?" he asked. Amara stared up into the night sky through the shield that surrounded her home. As usual. Matrona again? The Sentinel held his hand over a faint purple glow in his pocket. "No, not this time, actually." Amara adjusted herself in the coat, pushing her arms through the sleeves. She wrapped her arms around her legs with the sleeves going out past her fingers. "That planet. The one all those people were dropped off with that slug thing? Daru? You mean when we had to evacuate the planet?" "Yeah. Wasn't much of a nightmare, just keeping me up." Amara tried to tuck her toes in under the blanket. The Sentinel took notice. "It's cold, don't you think?" He stood up and gestured toward the door. She nodded and rose out of her seat. The two of them walked back inside and walked towards their room. The box flashed its lights. The Sentinel pressed his hand on top of the box and a hologram shone from its front face. "Daru?" the Sentinel questioned. "We were just talking about you." Amara slid off the coat and buttoned up a white shirt. These calls usually ended up on another planet. The Sentinel did the same, putting on a blue t-shirt, then picking up his coat. "What is it, an emergency?"
"We need to talk. Catch up a little. The people of Janistar want to see you, show you their progress."
Daru's hologram flickered. "Janistar?" Amara questioned, standing up behind the Sentinel.
"They've named the planet. A proper name, no IS nonsense."
Daru looked up behind him and laughed. "So it isn't an emergency then?" The Sentinel listened in, hearing shouting and loud blaring music. "Oh, it's an emergency, all right." A voice chuckled from the hologram. Daru's face was pushed away from the hologram, replaced by a clumsy image of the Paradox Master. "A party emergency? Get over here!" He laughed. Slanted sunglasses sat on his face with some sort of alien cocktail firmly in his hand, his jacket absent. "Seriously, a party invite?" The Sentinel laughed. "It's like 3 in the morning over here." "Time isn't real." The Paradox Master laughed, tripping and falling off the holographic screen, leaving Daru some room to return.
"We'd appreciate if you come, Sentinel. A man like you needs a little break from war."
Daru laughed. The hologram disappeared, and the box rose up, spinning.
"I say we go."
The box settled near the Sentinel's shoulder.
"Sounds fun."
The box revved. "Yeah, but you don't need sleep," Amara groaned, stretching. "Let's go." She adjusted her belt and holster. "Really?" The Sentinel sat back down. "Now?" "I've wanted to check up on how the planet was doing anyway. Plus, the Paradox Master looks like he's having fun." "I heard party talk." Ayla walked into the room, tripping over a rug at the front. "Ayla, what are you doing up?" Amara questioned. "I could ask you the same thing." The Sentinel smirked. "Yeah, I guess you should come with us too." He shook his head and reached out for the box. "Wait, Sentinel!" Amara began to protest. "Come on, Amara," Ayla drawled out. "It's a party." Before Amara could say anything else, they teleported out of the room and appeared in the middle of a crowd of people. Instantly, Ayla wandered off. I should probably keep an eye on her. Amara yawned as she followed after Ayla. The three of them were all cut off by the host of the party.
"You made it!"
Daru laughed, shaking his body. The Sentinel and Amara admired the room and its massive walls and vaulted ceilings, yellow and orange covering the walls. Massive white pillars held up the colorfully painted ceiling. The Sentinel turned his head, looking towards a nearby stage to see a familiar face. The Paradox Master drunkenly yelled something inaudible from the stage. He'd apparently just finished a song. "Thank you, Albuquerque!" He stumbled off the stage, followed by loud laughter and confused murmurs. "That was fun?" He chuckled and tripped into a wall next to the Sentinel. "Hey there," the Sentinel greeted him. "Hey, how's it going?" he responded. "Nice shirt." The Sentinel looked down at his shirt, wondering how the plain blue caught his attention. "Thanks?" The Sentinel couldn't help but smile at the Paradox Master's behavior, who could hardly stand. The Paradox Master set a finger on the Sentinel's chest and pressed. "It's the same color." "I'll have what he's having." Ayla stumbled into Amara. The Paradox Master began to fall backwards. One stepped behind him and caught him. "Thanks," he burped. "Wait, you're here too?" The Sentinel asked his first incarnation. "Well, of course I am." One laughed. "Either way, I can't really leave him alone at parties. He can get a little carried away." "Yeah, we know the feeling." Amara was trying to push away Ayla. "I'm gonna go get some air." The Sentinel looked for a door, still waking up a little bit.
Well, come on then.
Daru began to inch his way over to the massive doors.
You're not gonna have much fun if you're constantly dozing off.
The Sentinel and Amara followed, drifting away from the party.
It's amazing, the progress that can be made in such a short time.
Daru pushed open the doors, and they walked out of the main entrance, onto the sidewalk. They all stared at the landscape. What was originally black dust turned to city roads, skyscrapers, cars, factories, and homes. It was like the planet and its people had always been there. More than just people walked the streets. The Sentinel noticed several other alien species walking about. The billboards of the city were written in English, French, and Andromedan. Several of Daru's species wandered the streets.
I sense a bit of speciesism, Sentinel.
Daru inquisitively and sarcastically remarked of the Sentinel.
You can't build a planet this fast without some help, eh?
Andromedan? Who have you let in? The Sentinel began to question his trust in Daru.
This civilization is modeled after a more stable version of the planet of Ilsos.
Daru summoned his floating platform from inside the party room and flopped onto it.
We need a trade economy somehow. We have secure borders, though, I assure you. We've banned clones and Andromedan humans from visiting or immigrating. We've got wanted posters for Konchna and Rogar.
Yeah, 'cause that'll help, Amara chuckled. The Sentinel smiled, although still concerned.
Enough worrying. We're here to celebrate, aren't we?
Daru floated backwards on his panel, back into the party. The Sentinel and Amara followed. The two of them stood around, not knowing anyone besides the Paradox Master and one. Occasionally, people would stop by and thank the Sentinel for what he did the night he evacuated those people with the Paradox Master. He would get a few people who were angry with him and a few who understood why he did what he did, but still felt it was wrong. Most people were happy with what he did, but enough people weren't that it made him uncomfortable. One joined in the karaoke, singing as best he could. The Paradox Master moseyed his way over to the Sentinel and Amara. Show off, am I right? He drunkenly leaned on the Sentinel. I'm him, you know. The Sentinel smiled. Yeah, you have no idea. The Paradox Master stumbled and passed out on the floor. Ayla walked up next to Amara. What's wrong with him? She gestured to the Paradox Master. Guessing he had too much to drink? She commented, trying to enjoy the performance. Amara leaned over to the Sentinel, asking, Can you still sing like that? I don't know. The Sentinel chuckled. Didn't know one could either. I guess he picked up that skill in those years I forgot. One stepped down after his performance and approached the Sentinel and Amara. He was going to speak, but noticed the Paradox Master passed out on the floor. Oh, I'm totally going to use this against him. The party continued into the morning, though the Sentinel couldn't tell. The planet was always dark. He leaned against a wall next to Amara, who sat sleeping in a chair. The Sentinel didn't know when it was appropriate to leave. The Paradox Master approached him, and he seemed less drunk than he was earlier, as he could walk like a normal person, but it was obvious that he was still out of it. He leaned against the wall next to the Sentinel, wearing his jacket this time. You seem better, the Sentinel said. I wasn't drunk, I was messing with one. I'm just tired. Where is one? The Paradox Master hesitated. Home? He groaned and changed the subject. I'm sorry. What? The Sentinel wasn't expecting an apology. You know, for not being too forward with things. The Paradox Master burped. About your death and all, he continued. Right. The Sentinel swallowed a lump in his throat and turned his head away. His discomfort with the situation was evident enough for the Paradox Master to notice. It's soon. He straightened his jacket and held his hand in a fist over his mouth. After a pause, he sifted his fingers through his hair and began to walk away. I'm sorry. The Sentinel didn't move from the wall, still leaning against it. He put his hand into his pocket, pulled it out, and opened his hand. Matrona's Revstone sat in his palm. He cupped his hands and held his head back. He turned to Amara. Something about the Paradox Master reminded him of something, but he couldn't quite remember. Amara, he began, but didn't finish his sentence. He figured it wasn't worth it. She was still asleep. Shortly after, Amara woke up. You want to go home? The Sentinel looked at her, tilting his head slightly. Amara nodded, only half awake. I'll get Ayla. The Sentinel pushed himself away from the wall and grabbed Ayla by the arm, dragging her away from a group of Janistar men. Oh, come on, man, they were really liking my Earth stories, Ayla protested. We're going home. The Sentinel dragged her across the room. Why? She complained. Your sister. He approached Amara. Ugh. The Sentinel held out his hand. Amara reached for it, and they flashed away. Ayla dragged herself to her room, and Amara collapsed onto the bed. The Sentinel looked out of the window, through the shield, and over the expanse of Tereglion at the rising sun. The box floated above his shoulder.
What are you thinking, Sentinel?
Its core revved as it spoke. I'm not ready. He glanced over at Amara, asleep on her bed. I need more time.
Do you think now is a good time to mention you're getting another message?
The box's circles flashed slowly between bright and dim. From? The Sentinel breathed in deeply. He prepared for another chain of sleepless nights.
Vax.
The box spun around slowly. The Sentinel looked back at Amara, sleeping. He shook his head and turned back to the box. All right. He grabbed it and flashed away.